Thank you for this opportunity. I feel very humble in this situation. I've been in Hong Kong for 24 hours, and now I have to do a workshop with you who knows hundreds of times more about the educational background in Hong Kong than I do. So it is quite possible that what I have prepared is completely inappropriate, and I'm relying on you, please, to help me find something to connect with your own situation. But I had to change everything I prepared last night. I went out for dinner, and around the table there was an agreement on the following two things, which I'm going to put to you and ask you whether you agree. The first was, in Hong Kong, schools and colleges have no problem finding technology. The problem is that nobody uses it effectively. If your choice is agree very strongly, agree a little bit, don't know, disagree a bit, really disagree. Okay, hands up if you really agree with that statement. Quite a lot. Okay, if you sort of agree. Okay, if you're not sure. If you don't agree. If you really don't agree. Oh, okay. So, it seems like there is more or less agreement. And you know, the situation is exactly the same in the UK. We have plenty of technology, but we don't seem to have transformed anything much because we use it. Okay, the second thing was a little bit more surprising for me, so maybe this will be more difficult. It was the single most important educational problem in Hong Kong is the problem of creativity. Trying to find ways to help students to become creative thinkers and problem solvers. If you really agree with that, could you put your hand up? Oh, a lot, about half, more than half. If you sort of agree, okay, and if you don't agree, nobody disagrees with that. Well, you know, I tell you, the situation in the UK really is the same, but we don't admit it the same. We think that we have a very creative curriculum, and the government tells us we have a very creative curriculum, but we don't, and we don't use technology for what could be the most creative, innovative change ever in the history of public education. But we think we do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and put together, and you'll have to forgive me, it's not going to be very professional. I don't have beautiful slides, but I have some things to share with you, and I'd like us to try to discuss the following problem. The problem is, how can we design software and pedagogies with digital technologies that really could make a change in education? Oh, one more question for you, please. If you're a teacher, could you put your hand up? Oh, almost everybody. And now, if you're teaching kids in the second beyond 11 years, put your hand up, please. Oh, so not so many, and quite a few must be primary then. If you teach young kids, no. If you teach university people, okay. If you're pretending when you said you were a teacher. What have I left out? What have I left out? I know. I must have done something wrong, or I don't understand the law of excluded middle or something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to try. I want to start with an admission, which is that I've been trying to find ways of expressing what it is that we could learn, we could teach, and what people could learn with digital technologies that simply could not be learned before. Because if we knew that, we could design, and we could design not just software, but we could design pedagogies. And I think all of you who say you're teachers, we've reached a point in the development of technology where we're just used to being given technology to use. You know, every week there's another Microsoft project or another Google site, and we desperately, in education, we try hard to run, to keep up and say, what is this good for? What could we do with it? How could we use this in the curriculum? And I think that's the reason why in your country and in my country, we really haven't done anything revolutionary yet with technology. But if you compare digital technology's entrance into the educational setting with the invention of printing, or more recently the invention of pens that you could throw away. It's only 50 years since a pen was something you just used for a few minutes and then lose. It used to be much more complicated than that. Those kinds of changes really are changes in the structure of how you can express ideas. And if we really want to do that, it has to be a collective effort. Teachers, researchers, software designers, all those kinds of communities have to find ways to collaborate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you some snapshots, pictures of ideas which come from across the sector. Some of them are with very little kids, and some of them are more for more older learners. And see if we can get a discussion going. And I really want you, please, to be as open as you can. Please feel very happy to criticize what I show you, because I want to just start by saying that I don't think I know yet. We've been trying for 25 years, really, to build and use systems that will make a genuine change in the education system, and we've more or less failed. We've had some wonderful glimpses of what is possible, but we haven't made any systemic change in the UK. I know my colleagues in the United States are trying desperately to bring about widespread change. I mean, not everywhere, but I know some wonderful examples. Mutual friends of Barbara and mine as well, but it's a very, very difficult business. So let me start. I think that our countries, in all of the developed world, I don't just mean Hong Kong and the United States, I think we have this incredible, United Kingdom, where do I live? I have jet lag. I've just come from Australia and I've forgotten where I live now. Thank you. I don't think that the demands of what we need from education are possible to achieve without technology. But, for contradiction, if we want to build a rich, creative and coherent education, we can't leave that entirely as a technological question. It's a pedagogical question. And I'm going to tell you, in my view, give you some examples of the 4 C's. The first is, I want to just say something about culture and see if we can get the discussion going about the differences maybe in Hong Kong and the UK and any other countries that are represented here. We have one person from the States. Do we have any other countries represented here?
Yes, Sweden.
Sweden?
From Singapore.
Right.
Singapore.
Okay, so that's really interesting, because those are the countries that routinely wipe out the UK when it comes to international comparisons. So, yeah, we're just missing Finland, and then so that's good, and especially it would be nice to hear how Singapore manages to do what it does. So I want to say a bit about culture. I want to say a bit about the curriculum and what it might mean to say that technology can change the curriculum, because there I think we don't have any real examples. I want to say something about complexity. What does complexity mean if you have technology of the kind that is now routinely available? And then lastly, say something about creativity. I'm just going to talk for about half an hour. We'll have some discussion, and then as a result of the discussion, I have a branching program. I can do one of several things, and I'll play it by ear, as we say in English. Okay, so let's see how it goes.